Good morning. So, I've had a number of issues getting autopilot to work quite right, but I think they've made a couple updates, because I've seen some of my control remappings get rewiped and reset to default. I don't know if that's just PC issues or if it's an update, but I have noticed a bit of a stability in the last few days on some of the autopilot's functions in some of the airplanes that I fly. I don't fly a lot of them right now because it's just not going to function very well. So I'm trying to stick to aircraft that I can make function, and right now the TBM is the perfect aircraft for me right now. So I'm going to do a quick little flight and kind of go over some of the, not really go over, but I'm going to go through some of the other functions of the autopilot. Now I'm going to keep this one under more of a GPS run, just because that's where I've had the most success with it. With IFR, I really have not had a lot of success, and I have not yet had ILS work. I got it to find the airport once, the one out of the two times I've tried to use it, so maybe it's better now, but I got it to find the runway, grabbed the localizer, and then it just sort of did nothing. So even though approach was on. Alright, now that's the main terminal. I'm going to park over here on GA. We'll just set it right there. No big deal. Alright, so this is my basic flight. I'm going to do GPS. It's not a huge flight, but it'll take a little while. I tested this the other day flying basically over all the Hawaiian islands, and I had the flight computer basically do most of the navigation. It missed one turn where it just did nothing, even letting it fly past the waypoint, way past the waypoint, and then I ended up having to manually readjust the heading, and once I kind of fixed it, it got back on track here. So we're going to start in Sacramento. It looks like it's going to take me off to the north, so I'm going to come down. And I'm just going to throw some basic waypoints in here that are going to give me a little bit of a fun sightseeing journey on my way in here. Okay, I'm not going to do that. That's part of the problem. I don't want to go flying ridiculously all over this place. So let's go down here to Stockton. There we go. Let's see if we can come up here. Nope, it's going to screw me all up. I hate this stupid map. Let me pick my waypoints the way I want to fly. Don't tell me how you want me to fly, because that's just not cool. See? No. I want to move you. That just makes no flippin' sense. Alright, this video is about something else. Let's just not get angry. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll take Stockton out. I'll fly from there, and we'll come down to Richmond. Are you flipping kidding me? Alright, well, we'll take Elk Grove out of there. We'll come up here to Davis. Thank you. Thank you for not being completely annoying. Come over here. Nope, we're not going there. I just don't know what it's doing. Come on. Remove. Okay. And then I will see, will it let me approach the way I would like to? Yes, it is. Okay, so we've got a couple of turns in here, nothing too crazy. Let's go to the navlog. Let's see what my ceiling is set for. 8,200 feet is my highest. I think that'll be fine. We'll probably climb up. I don't know how fast we'll hit that. It looks like here I'm going to be needing to get a little higher than that up front, but no big deal. Okay, so again, this is just basic flying. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not doing anything with VOR. I'm not going to have to mess with radios. I'm not going to do anything with IFR. Just going to do a basic flight. And again, the whole purpose of my video series here is just to do more casual stuff, because as a casual player, sometimes you do want to configure this and have a little bit more of a, not a full sim experience, but you want to actually plot a path and go flying and see what it's like and kind of ingratiate yourself a little bit into the more sim experience. So ignore my heavy annoyance with the complete ridiculousness of this map. But again, we're going to push back from a gate up here in Sacramento. I'm going to have one heck of a taxi to get across, but that's fine. We'll take off. We'll head up here to Davis, whatever it is, airport, university, don't know, don't care. We'll come down here to Richmond, and then we'll basically make our way back down to Castro and shoot across into the airport here, which should give me a decent lineup. Now, this is where it'll probably, depending on what they tell me to do, I don't know if they'll tell me to make left downwind or right downwind or if they'll just bring me in. And depending on what they do, the computer is not going to bring me into a pattern in this particular setting. I got the IFR once to kind of point me to a pattern, and it actually brought me around and in, which was really nice if it had worked. I had to manually key in all the adjustments, but whatever. It at least got me there. So it's getting me close enough to the runway that I'll be able to have a nice descent and hopefully make it in without too many issues. But you can see they're coming down here along the coastline. So this should be pretty fun. Now, flight conditions and airplane. Let's look at the airplane first. Weight and balance. I'm going to have more than enough fuel. And weight, I'm not really going to mess with any of that. I don't have any liveries, so let's go to flight conditions. Live traffic. Preset, no. I'm going to do few clouds just because I like it. And what I would like to do is go back to where we have a little bit of sunlight, a little bit of daytime. Where's daytime? There's the Terminator. This is the other thing I don't like. This thing is not the most functional. So we may get a bit of a sunset as we make our approach into the airport, which is fine by me, but I think it'll be nice to kind of take off, have a bit of the daytime left to fly in. Unfortunately, we'll be flying at the sunset, which may make it a little bit harder to see, but that shouldn't be a big deal. All right, so we're ready to go. Let's jump in and see what happens. Now, the rudder is still broken. Sensitivity is all over the place. I found that I tried to do a citation flight from Denver to Aspen, and everything went great when I flew on autopilot, but the landing was just ridiculous. Takeoff wasn't too bad because I didn't have enough speed to do anything, but on arrival there was a bit of a wind, and it felt like I was flying like a flat-bottomed boat that was 70 stories tall, because just the slightest touch of the ailerons left or right and the plane was like barrel rolling. It was ridiculous. I ended up crashing. I made the landing okay. I did bounce a little bit, but I hit a bit of wind and tried to compensate. The plane just flipped over and I smashed the wing into the ground, so I crashed. But that was really annoying. So I tried flying with sensitivity at like -70, and it was better, but I may have to go to like -80 or 90 just to fly the citation. And I think there's another twin prop plane in here. I don't remember if it's a King Air or something else, but I tried to fly that one. Oh my gosh, that thing was unflyable in almost all aspects. I had no elevator control. The ailerons weren't too bad, but up and down, virtually nothing. So the planes, I'm fine with the planes handling differently. It's very difficult to set up bind profiles and everything like that to make it all work quite the way you want, because if you do set up a second profile, you essentially have to rebuild the entire key binding or try to copy one of the profiles over, which I haven't looked at yet, so some annoyance on that front. And again, I've heard nothing. I submitted a second support ticket to them, and I haven't heard anything back in 2 days on it, so I'm really disappointed in Microsoft with this. I think they could have had a much smoother launch, even delayed, to get some of these very basic and really crippling bugs out of it. I mean, yes, your core audience is a bunch of sim enthusiasts, but there's also a lot of people that like the more casual experience of this. That's why I never bought X-Plane or anything else, so I'm really kind of cheesed off at them for not having this better functioning at day one. Shame on them. 0-day patches are fine, just make the game work. All right. Wow, that looks terrible. That's a little better. I do not know why it is so ridiculously laggy. It must be trying to download textures, but I've flown here before, so I don't know why it would have to stream everything back in. It has a local cache of a couple of gigs that it's able to utilize within the settings, so that's a little annoying. Likewise, I did downgrade some of the graphics. I overclocked my GPU, and it really didn't make that much of a difference, so the issues I'm having don't really seem to be... I know the GPU is a limiting factor, mostly due to computational stuff, but really the GPU is not my main reason for not being able to get things functioning. Whatever. I gotta remember how to start this thing. Okay. Engine start on. Strobe Europe. Okay, props going, that's good. don't think I'll need panel lights on, but that's all right. Okay, let's get you up and running. Let's get the throttles. Can I move you? There we go. Okay, we'll get you over to taxi speed. Whoa. Alright, let's get rid of that thing. Let's take off the parking brake. Silence the caution. What's the problem? No heat.
Executive ground, Dayer Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf.
Pit it, no
Sierra
heat.
Alpha
I gotta remember where all these things are. Ah, there we go. Okay, I don't know. Bleed air. Where is my bleed air? There it is. Auto. That should satisfy everything. Yep. That's something with my propeller. Parking brake and ITT. I don't know what you are. Go away. Something on the temperature.
Executive ground, Dayer Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha requesting the end of pushback.
Taxi lights on.
Dayer Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra
Starters
Alpha
off. Ignition on.
Executive ground, Dayer Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha with Alpha request taxi for takeoff south departure. Dayer Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra
Okay, 3-0. We need to go somewhere, but first, that's the wrong map. Those are actually backwards, so the plus actually zooms out, if you notice, and the minus actually zooms in, so like that entire key mapping is backwards. Alright, now I'm going to do a little bit of work here on my system. I don't remember how to get this one to zoom in, unfortunately. The PFD down here is a way to tweak a whole bunch of different systems. So one of the ones that I'm working on, you've got your VOR nav. If you look here, I've got nav 1, and then on the far left here, you've got your active navigation. I'm not doing VOR flying, so I don't need any of the navs. FMS is what I'm going to be using because that's the waypoints that are set. It's a little rough, and it's difficult to see on this particular screen. I've got the VFR map on the far right of my monitor, which I'll pull out a few times and you can kind of see it. And that's the waypoints that I'm going to be gauging and seeing, and how the system is going to be turning, and it'll connect some of those out there. And it'll actually do a lot of the steering for me once I activate Flight Director and I believe nav, and I don't know if I need vertical nav or if that's vertical nav, I don't recall. Anyway. First things I'm going to start doing is, I don't think they're going to give me specific altitude settings, so I think I saw 2300 or whatever, so I'm just going to set this thing up for 3000 on the altitude. I'm going to turn the yaw damper on, just to have it on in front, which means that the tail's not going to turn too much. I'm going to turn on bank control so I don't tip farther than 45 degrees. I can always mess with that if I need to. And then basically I'm going to take off runway heading, and then I will begin a bank to the left. I'm taking off on runway 33 if I recall, and I can always set this once I get to the runway, so 33 will be runway heading. And I'm just going to take off on that for a little bit. I'll hit my heading, and then I'm going to angle a bit more to the left, and then I'll engage kind of the full autopilot once I get a bit more clearance, and I'll head towards my waypoints. So that's pretty much all the settings that I really need to worry about in this. I'm doing fine on fuel. It's easier to see that from the outside, so I've currently got 49, so I burned a little bit, but we'll be fine. We just need to figure out where the heck we're going and taxiing and getting out there to this runway, which has a very funky taxi option. All right. So with that said, let's get going here. So let's take the parking brake off. Let's throttle up. Get this sucker moving. All right, and pretty much for the bulk of the regular flying aspects of this, I won't bother doing a lot of talking. Oops. No, let's go back in. That's one thing I wish I could control a little easier. If you pull back the throttles too far, you'd go straight into reverse mode. I should have to like double tap or something. Alright, so I don't think that taxiway... Yep, it is. It'll be fine. Alright, let's get the fuel truck moving. Okay, alright, we are rolling. Now, if you noticed, I did in a couple of the videos mention that I used the rudder axis to bind to my left rudder, so I have fully functioning left rudder controls, but right rudder is still completely broken. So it's a bit of a I'm not using the left rudder properly because it's a bit of a hassle to try and get it to work right. Other people in the comments have said that if you pull both rudder sticks at once and then release it, you can kind of get it to work, but for me, I can't. So right rudder is just permanently broken, whereas left rudder, I can get it to feather perfectly. So all they need to do is just simply add one more easy rudder axis to the system, or have the thing register the other rudder correctly, and it'll work perfectly. Alright, so let's pull up here. Double check that we're cleared across, no traffic in sight. Bit of a run up on the engines. Now we'll head across the runway and down to 33. Alright, so here we go. I hate this because I got a wind from the right, and that's going to make everything a hassle for me here. Okay, speed. Ooh, that's a thing in the middle of the runway. Airplane's coming alive and up. Let's get airborne here. Okay, now I'm going to immediately hit my
Air Golf Sierra Alpha, continue for south departure. I will contact you next when you leave my airspace. Air Golf Sierra Alpha, you are leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved.
Okay.
Executive Tower Dare Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha, frequency change. Approach Dare Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha is type Dare TBM 92 miles northwest of Executive 1,200 feet. Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace. Dare Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha Norcal approach. Squawk 152 tree. Squawk 152 tree Dare Golf Sierra Alpha. Dare Golf Sierra Alpha radar contact 3 miles northwest of Executive 1,700 feet. Cleared through the Charlie airspace. Maintain on navigation. Cleared through the Charlie airspace, Dare Golf Sierra Alpha.
Okay. So he cleared us for my navigation, so we've got that set up. And the plane should, in theory, be taking control of that navigation now to line us up with the line that you can see coming in again. We have reached our 3,000 feet. I think I throttled down a little much. I want to fly a little faster. It's a bit windy out here today, but that's all right. Let's see all the players down where we're going, and a cloud about to go through. All right. Alright, so now that we're flying and the computer is basically doing the bulk of it, you can see down here on my compass, you can see the purple points towards the area that I'm going, and on the chart you can see the purple as well points to it. The purple on the side is more towards the landing system, but you can see the bar in the middle, if it's off to the left or off to the right, tells us where we are on the waypoint. So it just switched waypoints. We came to Spears, and now it told us, oh, we're too far to the right, so now it's going to turn us and align us to the white line. The white line is the leg that we have completed, and the red line is the next, I'm sorry. Wow, the whole thing just changed. Typically, the leg you are flying is red, and the leg you're going to fly is white. And I've seen it delete the legs that you have completed, whereas now it doesn't seem to be doing any of that. But you can see it is flying the airplane. It is steering us towards where we need to go. So I'm free to come up here and manage the rest of my aircraft and just kind of enjoy the flight. So now I can actually look out the window as this pretty fluffy cloud comes by. I can check out the other side. There is definitely a north wind. I can see some mountains out there in the distance. We're getting blown around out here, but the plane's doing its thing. Everything's happy and working as it should. So flaps are good. You can see the computer is messing with the trim wheel here. This is also kind of why you have difficulty crashing, because you've got your left and right trims, and then you've got your pitch trim here, and that's what it's using to kind of keep everything floating and normal. And if autopilot disconnects, depending on the plane, it doesn't reset that to a 0, which makes it very difficult to fly. Now my landing is going to be coming in from the south, so I should be flying at this headwind.
Squawk 1200. Frequency change approved Air Golf Sierra Alpha. Travis approach Air Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha is...
Alright, so now that they're done yakking, if you do need to change the barometer, what they're saying down there, altimeter 2902, that's calling out here on your old school dial 2902, and then down here 2902. If they give you a different setting, you can adjust both by either increasing or decreasing, and what it does is it changes the barometric pressure for your pitot tubes and your altimeter system to basically monitor where you are in the air correctly. This one here changes the one for down here on the big screen, and this dial here changes the one up here, and you can do that to help make sure your altimeter is set correctly. It's not a big deal. When I did the Hawaii flight, I had to make quite a number of changes. And you can also see that out on my side here, we've got some nice mountains coming in. And there's one of the airports. There's the big one that was just talking to me. Travis Air Force Base. So now we are looking at the ground. So we are currently nearing our altitude, which means that I'm going to need to start dialing back the throttle. I kept us up a little high. So I'm going to drop us down to about 62%. We'll see if that holds my throttle. I do want to, normally you wouldn't necessarily fly this fast, but I'm trying to get there without it taking all night. But now you have a chance to kind of enjoy the game, the scenery. These are some light little clouds. We've got some hectic winds, which are a little annoying in a smaller plane like this, but I love this little plane. It's pretty fast for a prop. It's very easy at handling overall once you get your stuff dialed in, and the cockpit systems are fairly decently laid out, and it's a joy to fly. Similar to the Cessna 172, that's another great plane to fly, but it's just a little slower. So this one gives me a bit more options, and I can take higher altitudes. So when I flew around Hawaii, my ceiling was 16,000, but to climb the mountain on Honolulu, I had to go up to 17,000, 18,000 to get around the backside the way I'd flown my waypoints, and then descend beautifully down the backside in. It was a really good flight, and you can configure these things to have a lot of fun, and you don't, in this way, you can keep it casual enough to where you can kind of do what you want. Like, if I choose to fly higher, I can fly higher. If I choose to fly lower, I can fly lower. But this 8,000 feet is a perfectly acceptable altitude for a plane like this, making a flight this distant, but it's probably still higher than... Now, thus far, my FPS hasn't been too bad, all things considered. I'm getting a few dips of choppiness that you can probably see, so right now I'm on the 18 to 24 FPS range, and earlier I was seeing about 24 to 25, so from this angle we're seeing about 21, 22. This is a little better, but They did a great job from the high altitude looking down here. Now, I don't know why, but San Francisco seems to be pretty brutal. There's so much going on, I guess, with water reflections, cloud reflections, things like that. And suddenly now I'm getting 31, 32, 30, yeah, 28. So I'm between 28 and 32 FPS looking dead ahead like this. And you can see the difference, how buttery smooth it is right now. Even at 25, it's not too bad. And we're flying in the right direction, so we're not getting hammered by all the winds. And we are 2/3 of the way to our next turn in Richmond, where we will turn more towards the southeast. And that's probably where I'll start my descent, because then we'll fly over Oakland, between Oakland and Castro Valley, and then we'll head down farther into KSFO. Again, this isn't going to give me vectoring, so once I get closer to the airport, they will set me up on final, and at that point I'm going to want to be around 2,500 feet, I think, to give me enough room to maneuver, and then I'll continue my descent as I kind of figure out what they're going to tell me to do and how they're going to bring me in. But right now, we've got plenty of time to just enjoy this view and this scenery. We're still between, I saw it dip to 26 FPS, now we're back up to 29, 31, so it still looks really good. All I did was I changed the, I always butcher the name, but the anisotropic filtering down from 6x to 4x. I dropped the render quality from 200 to 180, and I believe I turned, not shadowing, I turned something else down to high from ultra to pretty much get me here, and it's really smoothed out my experience overall. I do have my card overclocked, so I should be running about 2062 to 2088 megahertz right now on the GPU core, and then I overclocked the RAM a little bit. Memory overclocking is a bit of a touchy subject, and each game can respond differently. I put a bit more of an overclock on the memory than I typically do, because this game's dealing with pulling in a lot of texture detail and rendering a lot of stuff out, so I thought I would try having a higher memory clock, just because all the information coming on and off the memory as it loads and unloads, but I'm not sure if that's really going through the GPU or if that's more broadband limitations, so I don't know. We'll see. But looks like an oil refinery down there. This is where the game gets a lot of fun, especially for the casual player who just enjoys seeing the sights and cruising around, and even for some of the simmers. Alright. Looks like a big mall coming up. But anyway, being able to come in here and fairly quickly configure the flight for semi-realistic flying is really awesome. To be able to just in a few seconds create a couple waypoints and jump in and have the computer do most of it for you. Wow, that gets all turned around. Alright, so you can see here we've deviated off the flight plan. Now this isn't necessarily a concern, that's just the computer rendering in the turns. I'm headed towards Richmond, that you can see coming up dead ahead. So once I hit Richmond, it should kick into the next waypoint and the computer will turn. And you can see it right there. Yep, there it goes. So I went from Richmond to Castro. I was coming from Davis to Richmond. Now I'm headed to the Castro waypoint, and it's going to start turning me, and we'll fly back onto path. Some dockyards. You got one of the Bay Bridges there. Over here by Real Grey Jedi is where the Golden Gate is. I think this one's Alcatraz. You got downtown over here, which is nice. This coming into view on the left is Oakland Airport, and this is probably downtown Oakland. So we're doing pretty good. You can see KSFO up here, which is starting to come in, so we need to start thinking about our final descent. So I'm going to decrease my altitude here. We're going to come down to, let's say 3,400. I'm going to hit my vertical speed, and we're going to do a slower descent than I came up with. And now I'm going to need to throttle back a bit on the engine here so we don't overspeed this sucker. But I don't want to slow down too much. But we're going to have a fun view as we come in over some stuff here. Alright, so that should balance my throttle out. And there's the Bay Bridge, oil tanker. Hopefully they add some more animations to some of these things, because having these tankers go out and then vanish and spawn and come back in would be a lot of fun. I think there's a college down there. Yep. Alright, so Golden Gate Bridge is right over there. You can barely make out the arches, or the span towers. Looks like we got downtown Oakland there. We're coming down through 7,400 feet. Speed is good, and we should very soon start making our turn towards the airport. We'll all enter their pattern. We're about halfway to the next turn, and because we're over the mountains and everything still, I'm not going to come down too low, but I think I may have to come down a little bit faster. Let's just decrease the vertical speed to about 1,000. That should help. So we're coming down, heading right at the mountains, but we're still plenty high up. Oh, this takes me back to flying around San Francisco in the old games. It's one of those few areas that had a lot of neat things to look at. Oh, hello, buddy. What are you flying? General Aviation something. XSN-82. I think you're not a player. I think you might be a real airplane. I don't think players show up on my map quite right when I'm not in the full online mode. Curious what that is. Almost looks like a dam or something that's not quite rendered in. But I've never... I'm sure X-Plane is pretty good like this, but I've never been in a game that lets you feel so connected and realistically in the environment that you're in, like Flight Sim. That's one of the reasons I always loved Flight Sim and kept playing it. I really hope they fix some of these graphical issues, and really am cheesed that they have not yet fixed the flight mechanics in this stupid thing yet, because that is annoying. Whoa, somebody's on slew. Alright, so the airport's right across the harbor from me. I can just start making out the lights that I need to land. Get recentered behind. We're coming down 5,400, so we're doing all right on altitude. I think I might be a little lower, but I think I did it all right. I think I timed it just fine, because I still got to turn, cross the harbor, and enter their pattern, and then they'll tell me where to fly. I'm going to do it on the side map here, so if I scroll over there. So my runway landing, I'm not sure which one it is. It's going to be one of these two here. I think I might be coming in on the left one. And based on that, I'm going to want to enter all of these waypoints down here to come in on those. So what I'll probably do, depending on which downwind they want me to fly, I'll fly across the pattern and then come down and loop into my runway. Or if I'm a right downwind for 3-5 right, I'll come in here and then loop in. Not sure yet, but we're making our final turn. And you can see the whole system just updated. We're back to all the other legs have been deleted, and now we have this purple, or not purple, pinkish and mauve line that's telling us kind of where we actually need to, or the leg that we're actually flying on, so that is good. Let's take bank control off, get this thing turning and on path. Now I might be able to take over.
Air Golf Sierra Alpha traffic is 9 o'clock, 4 miles at 2,700 feet generic.
4 miles at 9 o'clock.
Air Golf Sierra Alpha
FedEx. I don't know who you're telling me to look at, but whatever. Alright, so now we're coming in. We're still a bit on the high side. Let's drop the altitude a bit more at this point. Down. Let's come down to 2,000 feet. Alright, we're going to start my left turn to get on path. Back towards the airport. Alright, so at that point, we'll kick off nav control here and we'll just take over with heading. I don't think approach is going to work. I don't have their approach info keyed in.
San Francisco Tower, Dare Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha 11 miles east to land.
Yep.
Dare Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha San Francisco Tower. Enter right base runway 28 right. Altimeter 29.9 to wind 256 at 7. Dare Golf Sierra Alpha cleared to land runway 28 right. Follow the aircraft on short final.
Alright, right base
Generic hotel
is a perpendicular.
Enter right base runway 28 right Dare Golf Sierra Alpha. Cleared to land runway 28 right Dare Golf Sierra Alpha.
Okay, let me come up here, kick on my landing lights. This is going to be such a fun game in VR. So, base is basically a perpendicular flight pattern to the runway. I might be coming down a little too low, but I don't care. Alright, so throttle down a little more, because I'm coming in way too fast right now. Whoa, did I cut it too much? I think I might have. Alright, we'll be fine there. So now we're coming in. I need to get ready for my turn. What runway am I on? 28 right. Yeah, so we need to get very ready for that. Let's drop the altitude down to 1600 slowly. I kick flaps on for 1. Let's get this thing turning. Alright, I think I'm going to need to come a little more left by the time I turn in here, because we're coming in pretty hard. There's my approach, so... yeah, we didn't get quite far enough. You can see on my left map, there's the runway, so that's kind of what I'm working on here. We need to come down a little farther. Okay, we'll keep the gear up for a minute. We've got to lose a bit more speed. When I kick the flaps on again, it's really going to drop the speed. So right now I'm just kind of keeping an eye on where we are. Okay, I need to drop gear. We're coming in fast. Let's get my heading shifted a bit. Woo, we lost way too much thrust. Those flaps kick it down really hard. Alright, 56%. Okay, let's get you. We're doing alright. We're coming in way high here. Let's drop you way down. I need more throttle, because as soon as I kick off my... I'm flying into the wind, and as soon as I kick off autopilot, or as soon as I get down to my altitude, we're really going to start hitting things. So let's keep vertical speed heading down here. We're doing alright. We are doing alright.
Generic Hotel 18 exit runway when able.
Alright, so we came a bit too far now. I've got to backtrack. Whoa, altitude, come off. Alright, we're held there. We're doing good. Somebody's cutting across the runway there. Alright, so basically what I'm going to do is going to kill me, because I need to do autopilot and then cut out of the plane because I don't have full proper controls. I don't trust my internal flight yet, because I need to see how much I'm banking since I have no right rudder. Let's angle up a little bit. We are way too low, but we're doing alright. We'll make it. Oh, overcompensating in the wind. No rudder, no rudder, no rudder. Okay, there we go. Got us back up a little better there. Alright, now let's see if we can get this thing on the ground without crashing. Smoothly, smoothly, a little high. Overcompensated. Oh, rough. Oh boy. No proper controls on the rudder. Alright, we made it. Flaps up, back inside. Wind is brutal. Alright, well, that's a bit of a problem because I need to zoom the F in here. That's a runway, so I'm not going to exit there. this is another runway. This will make parking easy. I know right where I'm going now. Alright, this is my exit. And I was worried about my throttle. Bit fast. Yep, I just got off. Shut up.
Exit runway when able. Dare Golf Sierra Alpha contact ground on 121.8.
Alright, now let's tune to ground.
121.8 for Dare Golf Sierra Alpha.
Okay. Let's taxi to parking.
San Francisco ground Dare Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha request taxi to parking. Dare Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha taxi to general aviation parking by taxiway Echo Charlie.
Okay.
Taxiing to general aviation parking using taxiway Echo Charlie Dare Golf Sierra Alpha.
This is going to be a fairly straightforward taxi. Are you trying to take off? Alright, now that the Goofy Patrol's out of my way, let's get this thing in the parking spot. Okay, he's crashed. He must have turned damage off. Can't say I blame him. Ah! Pay attention to what I'm doing, not the git out there going crazy. Pull up. Get in the parking spot. Alright. So we have parked. We used 40% of our gas. We could request more, but I think we're good. Alright, let's come up here. Let's start shutting some things off. We don't need lights on anymore. Let's come down here. Put you to idle. Pull you to cut off. We cutting down. RPMs are dropping. There's the prop slowing. Good, let's get the fuel valves off. Turn you off, turn off the fuel. You're off. Oops. Turn everything off. Alright, plane is successfully off and down. So, we made a successful flight from Sacramento all the way to San Francisco. That shows you some of the basics of how the GPS navigation can work, and I think that's going to be the best bet for a lot of players who are trying to do this more casual, because it is a lot of fun to set up some of those waypoints. I really hate that map, how you can't do the order you select. I don't want it to tell me, and maybe there's a way, I just haven't looked into it yet, but you can do a lot of fun in any of the airplanes when you set that up, when you use the navigation, and that makes it a very different game to play, and it gives you a chance to really kind of see the sights and do a lot more, and that's kind of the best way to lead into some of the more advanced flying with VOR, using radio triangulation. You tone in on a signal that's being blasted at you, and you kind of navigate towards it, and you have to change signals, or doing IFR with waypoints and everything else on the system. But the GPS side is very fun. It's very powerful, lets you do a lot of stuff. You kind of have to finagle the landing on your own. This was a lot of fun, gives you a chance to really kind of see some of the sights, and hopefully they allow us to set some more waypoints so we can actually set up a flight around some of the sites and enjoy it. Now, we can't always deviate from our flight pattern and then rejoin it, but this was good, this was fun. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.